o'clock. So, what did I push?
Low one.
Oh. Yeah. Let's not push that one.
I'm talking about him and his jazz. What you got?
There you go.
I was say he did.
Got it.
He did tell on you about the jazz music.
You got that squared away today.
I'm glad I brought that up. Let me put this thing on quiet.
Yeah, I got it. I got it off in Sunday school. Yeah. He's looking at you when I text him. I was like, "Well, in the podcast last week it was jazz, so who knows what? And, who knows what it'll be today?"
So, like on my alarm to wake me up, the mornings mine's just set on my liked songs. So it might play a Christian song, or it might play one of my hard rock songs that I have on there. So it depends on how I get woke up in the mornings, how my day goes.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Areopagus. We are still on the beginning end of our study. But if y'all see this, guys, please like, share, subscribe. Let's get this out to all the people we can. To where they can, and to where they can all hear God's word. So last week we discussed two sections. It was the salt and light, and then Christ came to fulfill the law. This week we're going to cover three sections, which, if I look correctly, it's like 11 verses. So it's done real quick. But today's three topics are going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? More specific, I guess you could say, on things. No, that's not really the taboo to talk about, maybe.
Yeah.
But we will be discussing anger, lust, and divorce. And if you saw the end of last week's, and probably our intro, I think I said it as well. The only thing I know about divorce and what I've seen in divorces from people I know, anger and lust are typically somehow involved. But today, this is not going to be calling people out specifically. I know that these three guys here with me today all have a story, and that I can't share in, but we will get good perspective. We will get different areas of knowledge and experience in this. The big one that I'm going to discuss on myself is anger. That is my downfall. Probably one of my biggest downfalls is anger. So we're going to kick him and this mule off, since we got three topics to discuss. And I'm going to just read the scripture, and we'll go into our discussion. So we are in Matthew chapter 5. I'm reading verses 21 through 26. It says, You women have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will and be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will and be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will and be liable to the council, and whoever says you fool will be liable to the hell of fire. So if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to woman your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are going with him to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you be put in prison. Truly I say to you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny. So this particular version, to me, I'm reading out of the ESV. When we get into the next section of lust, we'll cover that. But I've heard it wrong or read it in a different version or translation. But doesn't it say that whoever has hate in his heart for his brother has committed murder? Or have I just had that wrong in my head this whole time?
Where it says, I've already committed murder in your heart.
Right.
Well, it's fully talking about intentions here. I mean, of course, thou shalt not kill. That's pretty straightforward. It's interesting that I've had conversations with some people in the past that have been involved in wars. Actually, one was in Vietnam. He was really struggling about killing people. You know, it was part of it because he felt guilty that he was. And I told him, well, it was, I don't know what to say, but it was something that was a job that they were to do. It's defending yourself. But he really struggled with that it was murder. So I think what Jesus is talking about here is a matter of the heart and intentional, and then that anger gets so bad that the life of somebody else is not worth anything to you. I mean, that kind of just envelops you or just takes over, and that's just a horrible, horrible thing.
Well, I would agree. There again, it falls right after Christ was talking about, I didn't come here to fulfill the law, right?
No, abolish
it. I came to fulfill it. Yeah, I'll get it right in a minute. Thanks. But so what he's doing is he's kind of redefining and honing in and going for intent, right? So what's the intent of the law? Well, the intent of the law was that you shouldn't go around, unnecessarily killing people, right? And if you get mad at somebody and whack somebody over the head with a stick, and you kill them, that's not...
Or a rock,
Right, or whatever, yeah, or a sword. I mean, they had those. I couldn't say, well, in that Bible time, you pick up a gun and go shoot somebody.
Right.
They didn't have those. So, if I kill somebody out of anger, that's wrong. You're committing a bad wrong against God. Now, to your thing, I don't know if it's one of those things that we just misquote, right?
Well,
or if it's someplace else in the Bible.
Right.
So it may be over there in Luke. So.
Because I think it kind of I think it's been one of those things for me that, well, he's talking about murder with anger, and in the next section, lust, he directly says, if you lust after or you lust with intent, you have committed adultery in your heart.
Right.
And so, in my mind, looking at that, because I don't ever recall reading if you hate or anger or severe anger with your brother, you have committed murder in your heart. I think I just kind of have always put the two together because they're right next to each other
Right.
or in scripture.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't refer to anything particular like that. It just
Okay,
everything that I
so-
look up refers to Matthew 5:21. So
Right.
it is the intent of the heart.
Right.
So the anger becomes so volatile that instead of being given and dispersed in a natural way, it's bottled up and taken out upon an individual, and therefore your anger becomes more important than their well-being, and it's a very selfish act.
Right. Like I said, this is something that I struggle with, and after preparing for this week and reading through the scripture, reading through 4 different versions or translations, and the study notes for each one, and because they're all by different people, just to get an idea was when I really began to think, was that just in my head or have I actually read that somewhere? And I think it's just something we put together because of where it's at.
Right.
I can say that one of my biggest struggles in life is anger. But I can't recall ever having so much anger for an individual that to this extent. I mean, typically 9 times out of 10, my anger outburst, I'll say, that I have are miscommunications, stress induced, something that just it just comes out, and it's an emotion that gets the best of me, but it's not something that is pinpointed down to one individual person. Like I said, it's typically my fault just because I just tuck it away and tuck it away and tuck it away, and
Then it got to come out somewhere.
and then someone comes up, I say someone, and pokes me in the right spot, and
Pokes the bear.
it goes boom. And then, and I'm going to throw myself beneath the bus here. I had to apologize to my son this past week because I was dealing with his brothers, and we were trying to leave the house and get out the door, and he was in the truck waiting, doing what I asked him to do. And when I finally got at the truck and got everyone in, I looked at him and for no reason whatsoever pulled him into the chewing. For no reason whatsoever. And so, and that was before CR. And I sat in my truck for about 20 minutes, and I was angry but my anger was towards myself
Mhm.
because of the way I acted and the things I did to him,
Right.
who was literally didn't even say a word, didn't even look at me, and I just turned to him and just began to chew on him too. And it's 99% of the time when my anger comes out, the sole person that it's aimed at, once it's all said and done, is me.
Yep.
But everyone else takes the flag.
Well, yeah, I have.
And
Yeah, I have a problem with that. And most of the times when I'm angry at myself. Right.
I mean, and you know, our backgrounds are a lot alike, military and public service, and I found myself a lot when I was buried up in work at, being a medic or a firefighter and stuff. If it was a stressful shift, a lot of times I'd come home and poor kids, and sometimes even my wife, just the anger from stuff that went wrong at work or didn't go the way I thought it should would build up, and then that it might be something simple that it would just have been like, that's okay, just wipe it up, kind of spilt milk thing, right? And just boom, it's the straw that broke the camel's back,
and you burn the house down for it.
right, and it's
Yep.
Right. So there again, I mean, I'm thinking of things like in James, where he talks about the tongue as a fiery sword, right? So we can, yeah, I mean, Christ has given us a good object lesson here. And there again, if you notice, he scales it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Says, well, if you're angry enough that you want to want to kill somebody, that's wrong. But even if it gets down to the point, even if you call him a fool,
Yeah. That's one thing that is interesting to me, and maybe it's generational thing, time thing, but one thing I remember my grandfather teaching me is you don't call people a fool. That's like a high level cut down, I guess you could.
What if I just
say.
tell you, Raka?
Do what?
Raka. No, that's what mine says. It means empty head or foolish.
yeah.
That's what the
I've
Bible-
met some empty head people, but I don't know if that would be a fool in my mind.
That's just
But like he says here, if you insult
Right.
them and you call them a fool, will be liable to the hell of fire. I mean, it's judgment, and then it's judgment, and then it's hell of fire.
Yeah.
So that increased a couple of notches there.
Yeah.
Why aren't you putting them? You have a standing chance of putting
So-
them into an anger
to,
that would
But-
be detrimental
because-
to them.
the way I see it, to call someone a fool is the same thing as saying, oh, well, you're stupid, right? In the Bible, what does it say? How does it describe someone that's stupid? What is stupid?
What's that?
Not knowing or understanding the Word of God.
Well, I mean,
And
there-
so if you're, like you said, if you're angry at someone, you're
Yeah.
like, you're a fool. Well, who are we to judge if that person is a fool? Because we
Well,
don't know his
and-
heart, right?
I mean, I guess, and the way you're saying it is there's a difference in between. Yep, I had it in my head.
Ignorance and stupidity.
Ignorance and yes, ignorance and and stupidity. If you're ignorant of something, you can learn. You're willing to learn. You can
Right.
gain that knowledge. But the stupidity part is you're refusing to accept whatever there is.
Yes.
And so, this is more of that stupidity part. So
Well, and
I
also
see it.
also back to one of our former podcasts, when we were talking about the different hells and stuff
Mhm.
like this. Well, here again, Christ is using a specific word here for hell, right? He's using Gehenna, right,
Mhm.
which was a place,
Right.
right? That the people that were sitting up on top of the mountain, right, with him, that
Would
were,
understand.
right. He's saying you're going to be thrown over there, where is essentially the rubbish pile
Mm-hmm.
that you're gonna not want to be over there, right?
Right.
So yeah, I like that. But then he goes on to tell you how to reconcile this, or what you should be doing
Which is
are.
which is something I wanted to ask about too, because it says, so if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember your brother has something against you,
Right.
leave your gift there before the altar and go.
It's not
If
it's not that I have something against him, it's does he have something against me?
right.
Right.
And so
Most people
and so
read that wrong.
So
The
my
opposite.
question is, well, if he has something against me, why do I need to not give my gift?
Because you need to make sure you didn't do it unintentionally.
Because
Gotcha.
Right. So it's a
Yes.
heart
It's
thing
an
to give.
unintentional.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
When you're taking your gift to the altar, you want to do it with a
A
full
full-
heart,
yeah.
and full mind.
Right.
And doing so without reconciling, you wouldn't be offering your gift on the altar with
Well,
that
yeah.
full heart.
I mean, that's something like when we do communion here, we are encouraged that before we do that, search your heart and make them ensure there is nothing there before we partake in this quintessential.
Well, it's the same way. And remember, we talked about the priest that tied a rope to their ankles before they went into the innermost part there,
I
because they
still
had
want
to
to
be.
meet the first one. They
had to
didn't
be
do that with, and they
pure.
had to wait a year
Yeah.
before they went and got him.
Yeah. They had to be pure. I mean, it's the same way. He wants us to approach him the same way with our hearts, because if we have
Right.
something else on our mind, or we're dealing with something, then we're not going to really come to him the way that we need to, and we're not going to listen to everything that we need to hear, because our minds focus on something else.
Right.
So again, it's just refocusing, because in Ephesians 5 it says, well, mine says, "Be ye angry and sin not." It didn't say you can't be angry.
Right.
Right.
It's just the sin not part. That's the heart part.
It's right.
That's
It's that righteous anger, I guess you could call it, that Christ had when he went into the temple with a whip and started throwing tables around.
And the reconcile beforehand part, it even further on in the Bible, it's covered in Luke 12:57 through 58. It says, "Why don't you judge yourselves what is right?
Mm-hmm.
As you are going with your adversary to the ruler, make an effort to settle with him on the way.
Right.
Then he won't drag you before the judge to the bailiff, and the bailiff throw you into prison."
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not something that's just one time, okay, here.
Right.
It's
repeated, and it's a
and-
constant search of
Right.
the heart. Okay.
Well,
yeah. Driving around Tyler.
Mm-hmm. Being
Yeah.
honked at.
That is a test minute by minute.
that is
Well, somebody honks a lot, so.
Just that day, I don't know. It's Shiloh Road. I blame it on Shiloh Road.
you're telling me Shiloh Road to make a Baptist preacher
Yeah,
cuss?
yeah, almost, or at least honk.
Broadway during the holidays.
Well,
I stay away from Broadway.
yeah.
Come October 1st through about January 10th, I don't get on Broadway. Forget that. Anyway, so that was my last question I had in that section was, if my brother has something against me, how was that affecting me at the altar?
What is one of the things that it says is if you know.
Right.
Right. So if you're mad at me and I don't know that you're mad at me, I can't do anything about that.
Exactly.
Right. But if you said, "Hey, Scott, I don't like your shirt," and I'm,
It is a little
it is a little
different
loud,
on your
loud
normal-
today, isn't it?
Hey.
Yeah.
Bring
Well, I
back
kinda
the
get-
late
I got-
80s and early 90s of Western rodeo,
I
baby.
got one of my old Western shirts on. But anyways, yeah, but I got to know it, right?
Right.
So the idea is that I shouldn't let a brother or another human being not have a chance to reconcile, right? So I should be seeking those reconciliations where I can,
Right.
too. I shouldn't be sitting on my laurels if I know that somebody has something against me.
Yeah.
Right. I
Okay,
shouldn't be
yeah.
going, well, that's your problem, not
Well, it's
mine.
kind of interesting too, because whenever I remember telling my kids when they were with their siblings, you know how angry siblings can make you sometimes, or at least mine and my children's. But anyway, and I'd often tell them to ignore them, just ignore them. But they just could not. I don't care what they did, they could not, and they would just both become angry. And then here you are trying to get between, two children, and then you have the third one, and then you get between three children, tell them just love each other. They don't want to love
I don't
each
think
other.
I've ever
They
told my
just want-
boys to
just-
love each other. I just remind them that one day is going to come and y'all are going to be it for each other.
That's why you gotta love each other.
That's what I tell my kids all the time. I have one boy and two girls, and poor boy, he's the oldest, but he's outnumbered. And he gets annoyed with his little sisters all the time. And I always have to remind him, I'm like, Daniel, look, you have two sisters, but they're your only sisters.
Mm-hmm.
They're your blood sisters. There's going to come a day that me and mom aren't around.
It's going to be your job.
They're going to be your support.
Yep. Okay. So,
That's all I got on. Well, I guess there is
Oh,
one
I
more
got
thing that I
some
want to say
about
on anger. Never mind. Never mind.
No, you go ahead.
what is
Well,
it, Scott?
Well, anger is one of the things that you were talking about. I've talked to several psychologists before on the subject, and anger is generally a secondary emotion. So there's generally something that causes anger. So depression, anxieties, those are
Say
those are
cause
things
and
that
effect. Or is it-
right.
And
So it's
anger
general.
is the effect.
Right.
It's
Right.
not necessarily or technically the cause.
Yeah, anger
Well,
is the
that's true.
emotion or the effect. There's always a catalyst that
Right.
Triggers
ignites
it. Yeah.
So, if you
That makes
take
sense,
Jesus, don't get mad at one another. Go talk it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Cool.
Yeah. Arminians and Calvinists sit in a room together.
not like we used to do in the firehouse.
Work it out.
Work it out.
Take it out to the backyard.
Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. There's got to be something that people can get along with.
No, see, I worked with a guy at the firehouse that took petty to a whole new level. We were at the main station one day, and he had a thing of super glue in his pocket. I'm like, what's the super glue for? He went to this guy's locker, and everything in his locker was in the same place, but on the underside of the shelf, super glued to the shelf. He took petty to a whole new level. Super glued everything. Toothbrush, toothpaste, everything.
Wow.
just on the underside of the shelf.
That's rough.
How did the guy take it?
I don't know. It was a different shift. I don't know.
I didn't stick around.
It was a different shift. So I don't need a different shift at a different station. So I don't know what happened from that.
So how do you reconcile that? You go up to him and say, "Brother, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I glued everything
Yeah.
to your locker.
Yeah.
Forgive me."
Mm-mm. I think that's what you got to
Is
do.
that what you're supposed to do?
That's what you're supposed to do before you give you gifts.
Okay.
and hope
Because you know he was mad.
You know it.
You know he was
better pray
angry.
before you go that he's accepting of that
He was angry.
reconciliation because
Yeah, well, you didn't need him to come to you and say, "Hey, I'm mad." You should have known
Yeah.
as soon as you did that you was going to have to go to him and
Maybe
reconcile.
like Jacob and Esau. Remember when Esau was going to see Jacob, and Jacob knew Esau. He remembered him being mad, so he sent a whole bunch of gifts and all that. Just sent him everything he could to try to win him over. But Esau, he was already forgiven him. But
Yeah.
That's right.
but,
All right, we're going to move on to the next subject, lust. At least that's what the ESV calls it. I don't know what the King James calls
says
it.
adultery.
Adultery. What
Yeah.
is the ESV?
the CSB is adultery.
Adultery. Okay, so starting in what's
Which,
up?
when you read it, you'll see
Oh yeah.
wine. So
So I know that different translations title sections different. So we're in verse 27. It says, "You women have heard it said, you shall not commit adultery." So I do like how Christ is going back to the commandments of Moses in this section. I do enjoy that. You have heard it said that you shall not commit adultery, but I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away, for it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away, for it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body go into hell.
Then there again, if we're looking at the hell,
It's,
Yeah.
damn it.
yeah. So,
Should be a lot of no-eyed, one-handed people walking around.
But there aren't.
There aren't,
yeah.
so why aren't there?
because we're not plucking our eyes out and chopping our hands off.
Well, do you really? Let's pause there for a moment. Now that you put that there,
Open.
So was this-
Christ being
Literal or metaphorical?
right? Was Christ being hyperbolic here? Was he being hyperbolic?
I think
Did
he
he
was,
really mean?
I think he was trying to express a point. Now, I don't know if he would say to go out and cut it off, but that's how serious it
It is.
Right.
Right.
It's
So
right.
there
It
again,
is a serious
intent.
action.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We're going
The
back to
intent.
intent. Right.
Intent of the heart. Yeah. I
Right.
mean,
So we're going back to what you should be doing if we
Right.
want to do this game right.
If you're going to do that, then this is what should be done.
Right.
All right.
Right.
so real quick, just because it popped into my head. We've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4. We're in the 5th titled topic of the Sermon on the Mount. Is the whole Sermon on the Mount about knowing your heart and your intent? I mean, would that be a good
how are we able to serve and obey without our heart being where it's
We're
supposed to be?
I would
It's
100%.
impossible.
I would 100% agree with that statement. So if we're
There you
not,
go.
there again, right? We're supposed to be the body of Christ right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if we're not, then we're not the body of Christ, right? So what do? You know, you mad, turn the other cheek. You take oaths, don't break them. You shouldn't have to swear by anything. Your word ought to be your bond, right?
Nay, nay,
You shouldn't be
yea,
you shouldn't
yea.
be looking you shouldn't be lusting after people, walking down the street.
So
You shouldn't be mad enough at somebody that you want to go, beat them in the head with a stick or throw rocks at them or cut their heads off with a sword. You shouldn't be like the world.
so why do you
Epiphany.
I know. So I know that in our current culture, we are blessed enough to have this wonderful two-edged sword called the interweb. That I know how big of a problem lust is in our current culture. It's everywhere. I mean,
Can't throw a rock without hitting it.
magazines,
Thinking of throwing a
TV
rock.
shows,
Everywhere.
commercials, ads on social media, these different social platforms that are specifically designed and promoted
Mhm.
to push lust into the world.
Can I say the word? That word S.
Mhm.
Sex sells.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean,
it's the money. I mean, it does.
You know-
It appeases.
Mhm.
the
it does.
eyes and-
Sex sells, and it's
not-
very prevalent.
And not only here in America, look in Europe. If you want to go to that part, look at Europe. They don't have a lot of weathermen on the TV. Some countries only have females
Mm-hmm.
that broadcast the weather on TV, and they're half clad. So, I mean, it's
If I'm gonna hear about rain, that's the best way to hear about it, I suppose.
I wasn't gonna
But
say
it's-
that. But like,
it's
I'm
bred
turning
into
into
our-
the weather.
it's bred into our society
Oh yeah.
nowadays.
We're gonna
I
have a
mean,
tornado, might as well get the best of it, huh?
So it's
Well,
I mean,
I'm
yeah,
not being
it's-
silly.
it's-
I hope
I'm-
everybody
I'm-
knows that.
I'm being
I
silly
mean-
for the record.
Yeah.
Right. No, I don't doubt that. But it is so prevalent in our society that even games that are designed for kids are being targets. The biggest game that I know of right now is Roblox.
oh my god.
It is a hub for it to the point that I've seen interviews with people who have gone in and found these people and have reported them to the Roblox committee and to the local police departments and the FBI. And Roblox, the company, is sending cease and desist letters to the people exposing this because they want to keep pushing this narrative out there to get to our kids.
I'm telling you right now, my kids,
My kids don't.
they're
play,
not allowed
play
on
Roblox.
I'm not sure what it is now. I feel foolish.
It's kind of like
I don't even
it's
know
a
what
cheaper
that is.
version of Minecraft, pretty much. It's a blocks game where you build with blocks and
Oh,
all
okay.
that.
But they specifically design rooms and worlds and different areas of the game to where you can go into a house that somebody has built and owns, pay them actual money through Robux, I think is
Mhm.
what it's called. It's a digital currency, and watch an activity take place in a game.
And a lot of child predators are setting up in these private rooms.
Yeah, you don't have to go any further than
And
that.
Yeah, I
it's-
mean it's
Yeah,
it-
I already connected that dot. So yeah,
and you have this company that designed a game for kids initially. Maybe it was supposed to be for kids, or maybe this was the intention all along, but are defending the people that are promoting this activity. And you get these different things. I mean, even as an almost 40-year-old man, it's easy to get caught up in the trap.
right.
I mean,
Right.
any TV show you watch now has something that's designed to hook you, and it's
Well,
insane to me.
Well, they found that things like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter or whatever it's called this week. They want to throw things at you that make you mad because you'll continue to do things. So they want to throw things that are eye candy at you, so you continue to look at their stuff, right? So, yeah, it's a horrible place that we are, especially with people that this is affecting their lives.
Right. I mean, you got people that I personally don't know anyone that this is currently living in this. I have worked with people in the past that it cost them their marriage because it began at just websites or magazines back in the 70s, 80s,
my
90s,
time.
whenever.
Yeah.
In your time, it was magazines and books, but it started it as something at too long of a glance to a physical person, and it cost them everything.
Well, yeah, and
And-
I don't think that we understood.
And
I don't think that we've ever understood up until this point what was going on physiologically with the human body with dopamines and things like that. That you get addicted to those things. That your body and your brain actually want more and more of it.
Right.
So yeah, we didn't understand the danger, the situation that we were putting in. Now, I'm nice about it when I say that, right? I guess we know that now, and we still perpetuate it.
Right.
I didn't know this stuff about that particular game, but yeah, we have people that don't care because it's attached to money and fame, fortune, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So be careful. I mean, that's what I tell most people. With things like that, you got to be careful. You got to be careful with what your little eyes see, like the song said.
Careful
That we-
with eyes, what you see.
That's right. What we learned in Sunday school as a kid. So, we want to be careful with the things that we're putting in our body, right? And that's both, that's with all of our.
Those intrusive thoughts, they get to you, and you got to be careful. Again, the intent of the heart, I think, is what he's doing
Right.
because
It's falling back.
it delves into it, which is fixing to go into the next topic here.
Right. I mean,
of
it's
why it would even come up.
yeah. I mean, you're looking at these two current topics, And then we get into the third topic for today is divorce. And this
It's just
is,
two chapters. I mean, two verses.
yeah,
Just a little bit.
it's two little
In this
verses
book.
Yeah.
that carry a lot of weight. And this is also a topic I personally have no experience with. But I will read the scripture and I will sit back and let y'all three share however much you're led to share on this topic. So it is verses 31 and 32, and it says, it was also said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that everyone who divorces his wife, except on the grounds of sexual immorality, makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery. So, like I said, I got no skin in this game.
Well, there again, we got to go back. What was the intent of the marriage, right? So the intent of marriage is to what?
To become
Produce a
one
family.
flesh, be a family, unite with God,
Right.
go and populate the earth. Everything we see in Genesis.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right. So we're making, and here again, I got to use one of our friends' words, right? When we stand up and say the vows in church, we're actually making a covenant with
Mhm.
God. So it's a covenantal relationship that we're supposed to be in, and covenants aren't supposed to be easily broken.
right.
Right? They were meant to be a permanent thing. Now, way back yonder in the days, most of the time it was daddy got together with daddy and said, my son gonna marry your daughter and we're gonna have some kind of political agreement. Or it was that my son was gonna marry your daughter and we get a little bit more farmland. Or my son gets to marry your daughter, well, because odd man out, there ain't nobody else for my son and your daughter to marry.
Right.
Right? So it was the parents that were making these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And they were essentially belt loop and shirt collar and thrown in the middle of a marriage, right? It wasn't like it is now where we get to shop and ask and, do all of that. So it was a serious thing. And in this point in history and in this point in the law, there were a lot of ways to get out of a marriage, right? You could get out of the marriage fairly easily, just like you can now. So Christ was talking in terms of this shouldn't be this easy to break a
covenant.
a covenant that you have made with God.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was an arranged covenant, now there again, most of the people that he was talking to, they may not have actually met they may have knew them because they lived in the same village, but in that part of the time in the world, women stood over here, men stood over here. Now I could look across the room and go, oh, there's a woman over there.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't have much interaction with somebody that you weren't married with or that you weren't blood related to, right? I mean, talking about opposite sex.
Right.
So it wasn't that, you went to the high school dance and, asked a girl out, bought her corsage, and, that wasn't how it worked back yonder. So
Kind of like the old school junior high dances. You walk into them and you'd have girls down one side, boys down one side, and an empty dance floor in the middle.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. But so when it comes to this kind of thing, there again, I think it's a heart deal.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it you're doing this? Why is it that we're getting married? What is the purpose of a marriage, right? What is that purpose? What did God create marriages to do?
To last.
so
Well, one, I think that his intent was is that a marriage was supposed to last, at least earthly forever, right? And I also think that it was there to promote the next generation, right? I needed some way to promote that next generation, and because humans, when they're born, are pretty weakly and can't do much for themselves, so I need a group of people that can raise that thing up to long enough that now they can go out and make some more little bitty things that can't do nothing.
My deal on this is, is where in this time and in this setting, with this being said like this, where would it sit for the children of this marriage?
No, they wouldn't. The children would have been the least of their worries.
Concerns.
Exactly, right? So, and that
And most of the times in a divorce, I think it's the least of their concerns too.
right. And so that's where I come from in this discussion on the divorce and part of it with the marriage is the innocence of the child, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, moving forward out of the divorce, does that not set that child up for a decision of sin? Is he going to sin against his mother? Or is that child going to sin against their father for deceiving and putting off of one or the other? Because unfortunately, as a child from divorce in today's society, that happens so much. The child gets put in the middle and gets told, decide. Decide, mother or father, right? And sometimes it's not even the family, it's not even the husband and the wife that's doing that. A lot of times it's the government and those that are set to judge us that say you have to decide, your mother or your father.
Yeah, it even happens in the older, even than when the children are older.
Right.
It's not that they want to decide. You don't want them to decide, but they do have to make a decision because you're going to hear two sides of the story.
Right.
And, they both want you to believe their side of the story. But as a child, you want to just simply just love them. But that can't be. It's impossible. And divorce it's horrible.
Right. Right.
It is destroys the heart.
And in a way, I think it doesn't only destroy the heart of the two involved, right, of the two adults. I think it destroys the heart and it eats the soul of the children because the children also sin in the guilt of themselves. By saying, I was alive, it was me. I was the reason, even though the parents don't say that. I can say that because I had that feeling as a kid. My parents got divorced when I was very young. I was 2, 3 years old maybe. I think it was maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th grade years of my life that I was like, wait a minute. Why is Dad always coming to Mom's house and picking me up? Why do they live an hour apart? And so that's when I figured that the divorce part of it out. But then I had it on my heart of, well, I want to go with my dad. I want to go see my dad. But if I go with him, then I'm neglecting my mom. Right? So it forces that child to have the sin of neglect of the family.
Well, it even happens when you're an adult because you're going to have 2 Christmases, you're going to have 2 Thanksgivings, you're going to have 2 everything. It doesn't matter. It even happens when they're older.
Right.
And it is sad. It's just sad. It really is because it's, it is, again, it's a heart thing. It's a covenant thing. And it's just lack of commitment, it's allowing outside things, just exactly what Jesus was getting up here about the outside things coming in. You're allowing those things to come in and just take hold and become more important than truth, you know. Because you ever heard anybody say, well, this is it. Well, I know that's what I'm supposed to do. But, and then that's what happens on it, it's that other part that people want to pursue. God forgives, right? Don't God forgive? He'll forgive us, even if I take the wrong path. The sad thing is that I think Satan's really happy when a family is destroyed. And it's destroyed for forever. It's
Right.
you
Well,
know.
you're statistically more likely to get divorced if you come from a divorced family. So, sins
Yeah.
of the father kind of situation.
And I can say this, on my marriage, I'm married now
If you got to think about it, that's a
15
bad thing.
15 years, and
Maybe just so blissfully happy.
I am.
Oh,
I can't
this
believe she
year's
stayed with me
Yeah,
this
I
long.
can't believe it's.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
That's
Been
it.
married 15 years now, and something I told my wife Jessica, something I told her before we got married. When I asked her to marry me, when I proposed, and she said yes, I said okay. We need to sit down and we need to have an understanding. And part of our covenant was that me and her made between me and her, not me and her and a preacher, not me and her and God, but me and her, was that I came from a divorced family. I know how that made me feel as a child. So I told her, if we get married and we have kids, I don't want to think about divorce. And unfortunately, I've had some things happen in my life here recently where I almost caused that to happen. And I've reconciled with her on that, and gotten more active in the church. And a lot of people don't know.
Jesus is the answer.
As today, I recommitted my life.
He is the answer.
whatever the question.
Yes.
I recommitted my life to God today because I want to strengthen that covenant with my wife and our covenant with God that me and her made, because I don't want to put my kids through the sin of divorce.
And the reason you want to do that is because you pursue Jesus first.
Yes.
And when we pursue him first, and that's what he's talking about here,
Right.
that's the true intent of the heart, that we won't be going through a lot of these things and struggling with them because we are pursuing him in everything.
Right.
And our perspective will be different. Yeah, unfortunately, divorce is an ugly thing, and the statistics now, I don't know.
It's
done
still
lost track.
50%.
Is it still
Yeah.
50?
So
Yeah,
what is it with Christians? Because
Yes,
that's
that's
the
it.
number that
Yeah.
that's the number that
That is.
I was going to look it
yes.
up, and that's the number. It's actually, I don't think that it's at 50 yet, but it's getting awful doggone close.
So this is what the AI automatic pulled from all the statistics. It says Christian divorce rates vary significantly by study and level of religious engagement,
Right.
while some figures suggest rates similar to the general population of 27 to 30%. Others show that active regular church attending Christians, especially conservative Protestants, have significantly lower divorce rates, up to 35%. So let's say going from
You're talking
a
about
national divorce rate is 40 to 50%. Your conservative Protestant Christian
Is 1 in 3.
is 1 in 3.
Right. We go from 1 in 2 to 1 in 3.
Not significantly different.
I wouldn't say so. I would expect that we'd have to put some zeros behind one of the the one there to get it right, but which is rather scary. Now, I'm sure if we were to look at the historical divorce rates, and I think that we would see that one, there's been a spike since the legalities of no fault divorces, because most divorces now in this country don't end in something other than irreconcilable differences, which is essentially no fault.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to speak to something that Ronnie just mentioned. So at the end of March of 2018, I learned at how close my marriage was to divorce. Being a first responder, having to work more than one job's gone anywhere from 24 to 60 hours at a time, jumping from station to station, from town to town. And just that whole anger part, not dealing with the stress from the job and the things of seeing and experiences. Needless to say, I found out that I was on the verge of divorce. Didn't know it. So I wanted to just look up something. So the national divorce rate, we're going to call it 50%. The conservative Christian divorce rate is 35%. The divorce rate for first responders, I'm going to include firefighter, EMS, law enforcement, and dispatchers in that, because the dispatchers, most people don't acknowledge them, but all the stuff we're seeing, they're hearing, and their imagination of what is going on the other end of that phone is all they have to work off of. So I don't know if that's worse or better than actual seeing things. The divorce rate for first responders is 60 to 80% of all first responders get divorced.
So if we're looking at 60, that's 2 of every 3 marriages.
Fail.
Right.
For a first responder.
Right. That's the low end.
And
That's the low end.
the sad thing is the percentage is just as high for first responders that commit adultery. Because a lot of them, I mean, I'm very fortunate that I have a wife that's willing to talk to me and listen to my scars.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of them that don't. And so they confide in the coworker that will, that has that relational trauma. And sometimes they bond under trauma better than they bond with their wife at home.
And I will say, from what I've seen on that same end, because I've worked with guys who all 3 of these have run its course in this order, the bond is typically with someone else in the medical field who understands.
Yeah.
To whereas someone in a non-medical field doesn't. I am blessed that my wife is a nurse. She has been a nurse for 18 years now. And so I was able to share with her things.
That she understood.
But at the same time, it took me until September, October of 2018 to accept the fact that there was even something wrong with me. So,
Well, I know I was kind of blindsided too, but I understood the situation when I was a consultant. I literally was in the house about 18 hours a week. That was the extent. And part of that 18 hours was me sleeping, Saturday night. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't home. I mean, I just might as well. You just might as well have said, my ex-wife raised 3 kids.
right, and that was one of the things that I had to realize is that from the outside looking in, Heather was a single mom
Right.
that just happened to have a ring
Right.
and
Right.
filed joint taxes.
Right.
But outside of that, she was a single mom because I was never home.
Yeah, I didn't say because the same with me. Because for the longest time, it took me a long time to realize it, but I finally did it. For the longest time, the only thing I contributed to my family was an income.
Yep.
Because I'd come home, because, like you said, sometimes 72, 96 hours, I come home, yard needs to be mowed, I'll get to it, I'm going to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times I'd crash out for 24 hours at a time. Not only because I was physically exhausted, but, being mentally drained. And I was letting that little goober up here on my shoulder tell me, you don't need to be active in your family. You need to sleep. Think
To
about
get ready for
be
that
selfish.
next
be selfish.
call.
Think about yourself
Well, you
and go
were
to sleep.
providing.
Yeah,
I think we get into our mindset of providing, and then
Right.
y'all know from my perspective, I was pastor for 20 years, so your life is not well hidden.
Right.
It is exposed, and so you're living under the influence of being a perfect individual or a perfect husband, a perfect father, and because that's what it's expected. I've had many people say that, you just you could talk to God, so you don't have any problems and all of that, but it is a sad situation.
Last time I
And-
checked, we could all
Yeah.
talk to God,
I
but
thought
okay.
I thought that's.
Yeah.
I thought that was part of the Protestant
But it gives Satan a perfect opportunity
Right.
to use the outside sources,
Right.
and cause a wedge in there. And it's interesting that the church really don't address if a pastor's having problems. They kind of silence. They don't want to get involved in things like that. So you're kind of alone when you go through this,
Right.
and
And
it's
it
sad.
shouldn't. And
It
it shouldn't
shouldn't
be
be
that
that
way
way.
for y'all, because us as members of the body, right?
Mhm.
Yes, the pastor is considered the head of the church. We are the body of the church. The body should support the head, right? We should be just as supportive and understanding of you as you are of us.
But then again,
and-
it's the same way with y'all's. When y'all first responders, you help the people. And once the people are helped, they don't need you anymore. In essence, that's sometimes the way the pastor
Right.
is. It's once you've helped them, they're off with their life, and you're left dealing with it. I dealt with being at the bedside and pulling people off machines, young people off machines. I did babies' funerals and all of these things that that leaves an impression or a lasting memory upon you.
Mhm.
But once you're done, once they're done with you, then you go on. You deal with that on your own. And I'm not saying this for sympathy. It's just
Right.
just a plain fact
Do
about
you need
it.
a hug, John?
Anyway, but I'm just saying, and you see what I'm saying? It's just
I think that it's interesting and something that we should be conscientious of, right? One, putting somebody on a pedestal that shouldn't be on a pedestal anyways. I mean, you're a sinner saved by the same grace as I am. You have a different position in the church that you're willing to stand up
Yeah.
and
You talk
pastor,
good.
That
right?
God,
I mean,
God,
from
God
the
has
sense
called
of
you to carry on a different mission in the church
Right.
than the rest of
and
us.
we as parishioners, right? We ought to be conscientious of those things because, yeah, I'm sure it's pretty traumatic. I know how traumatic it's been for me in the situations where I had to be in a room where I was just sitting there listening to breathing.
Hmm.
And I know how traumatic it is on me. I can't imagine, and I get to talk to people about it. I get to go talk. I'm sure it's traumatic for you too to have lived through that and gone through that and had to support people through that. And then, well, who do you turn to?
That's the
Right.
thing.
Who do you turn
Yeah.
to? Who do you turn to when you need that? Well, just give it all to God. Well, I'm supposed to do the same thing. I'm supposed to give it all to God too, but I need people's help to be able to
And it's
give
the
that to
same way
God.
on my ex-wife's side. Or so I have trouble saying that, but anyway,
Right.
that she
I
had
still do too.
nobody to
Right.
turn to, because as a pastor's wife,
You're-
it's a fishbowl life. It really
Mhm.
is. You kind of look at all of that, and so nobody knows what to say or what to do, and they kind of just, well, that's just the way it is, And I often ask, and I said, why didn't anybody say anything? Why didn't anybody do anything? Divorce is horrible no matter what.
Right.
It's when y'all, the first responders, and you're providing, but your job takes you away so much, and then what you do, you can't leave there. There are some jobs that you can
Leave work at
leave
work.
it there and then go home, but you can't leave those, because those are memories. Those are things and thoughts and feelings and all of the
things that
emotions
you've seen
that
that can't
come
be
home.
unseen.
Yeah. And I was interesting. I heard a story one time, and I don't know if it's true or not, but there's this guy that went to interview this guy that was I don't know what he was, but he went to his house. There was a big old limb hanging over you may have heard this, big old limb hanging over the front of the house, and maybe ripping this version up. But it was a bald spot right on the, right at the edge of it, And there wasn't nobody else in the house that was tall enough. It was only, it's like, I'm curious, what is that? Is it the tree that died? And he said, no. He said, a long time ago, I decided that whatever was bothering me would be left there. He said, and that's years of me touching that tree that had worn the bark off and had become smooth, of leaving it there to where he can become again a father and a husband and all of that.
And that's the
So-
and that's the
and
way
wow.
and that's the way the floor should be in front of our altars, right? I mean, every church in front of that cross, or front of the church, it ought to be worn through carpet down to concrete, down to dirt, from us kneeling and like you said, giving it to God. And it shouldn't just be one person. It shouldn't be just the head of the church doing it. It shouldn't just be the cop doing it, or the firefighter, or the dad who works 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It should be the church. Because behind those kneeling should be those standing or kneeling with their hands on their shoulders, saying, brother, sister, I'm here with you. I have you.
Just think about what we just learned on, and if we did what we were supposed to do on all these things,
Right.
about anger and about all these things, if we really truly helped one another, if we really truly cared enough about one another, instead of saying, well, it ain't none of my business. So,
My business.
That's right. But I know people don't want to be nosy, but sometimes you just got to let them know you're there, and available.
Right.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's just a saying of me going, John, I see you, I hear you, I'm here.
Right.
Yeah.
That can change a person's
Best
life.
conversation I ever had was a guy. His name was David, and it's back when I was 19 or 20 years old, before I became a pastor. But before I even had that mentality, I was always a great listener. All right, I'd always listen and all that. And he sat and listened to me for 3 hours. I mean, we sat in the truck. He listened to me for 3 hours. I never had anybody just listen. And I remember that, and I'll remember that to the day I die. That's all he did. He didn't offer advice. He just listened. And sometimes that's just what we need to do.
Yeah.
Is just
Listen.
And I can say I agree with that. And I can say this, some of the best times and the closest times I think I've had to the man upstairs has been in the seat of a tractor on a 100-acre wheat field, going round and round, sowing ground or plowing ground, and radio not working in the tractor. So it's your thoughts, and the man upstairs.
You were fancy. You had a in your tractor.
As you notice, I said the radio didn't work. For some reason, those FM radios and those tractors usually only lasted about the first 2 weeks you had the thing. But, you know, and like you said, yes, it is divorce. The two lessons before the divorce lesson was they all lead to it. Because if you're not whole in your heart with anger, you're going to find someone the likewise of you.
Well, you think about this. When we quit serving God, when He quits being number one, there's something else going to take its place.
Yes.
The sucking sound of the vacuum being filled. Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Something
So-
will always be number one.
The devil's just waiting for that littlest glimpse of daylight to throw his seed into the field to be sown. And once it is, it's...
Weeds are hard to get rid of.
Yes, sir. And, you know, you say weeds, and that's a great analogy to use for our sinful and bad habits, right? They're the weeds in our garden of truth and light through God are our sins. And I don't know, like, I know my grandmother, she had a garden, and I'd go out there on hands and knees and help her pick weeds out between the peas and everything with my bare hands. And that's a long, taskful job. And I think a lot of people look for this sudden and easy quick fix. And unfortunately, there's not. There's a journey that you have to go on. And if you don't put, like you said, if you don't put him as number one, you're going to be stuck in the mud.
And who was it that said your Christian walk is a marathon, it's not a sprint.
That's right.
And who said that?
Mm.
I just
I
heard
think
you said it.
I think you just said it.
Oh, I've heard it. Anyway, guys, we got an event coming up in
We
a
sure
half
do.
hour.
Half hour? Oh my
So,
goodness. I might as well stick around.
That's me. I think I'm just going to hang out.
Oh, that was my
You
plan
know
the
why
whole
I'm going?
time.
You know why I'm going? Don't tell Johnny. They're having refreshments.
Are they?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know he's having an ordination, but I'd come for him. But they are having refreshments.
I didn't know that. Okay. Well, guys, I appreciate y'all. I don't know if we're covering 2 or 3 next week off the top of my head, but the interesting is oaths is next. So oaths kind of fall back onto divorce. And the one after that is retaliation, which can take us back to that anger. So, guys, thanking y'all again. I could not do this without y'all. We just wouldn't have it because I'm not doing this by myself. So, thanks again, guys, and for the group out there who watched. Just thanking you for y'all's support. Just to sit down and listen to us ramble. It seems like, but until next time, we'll see y'all.